Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, your bank account just doesn't reflect your efforts? Like you're running on a financial treadmill, exhausting yourself, but never really moving forward? If you've ever wondered why some people build wealth effortlessly while others struggle their whole lives, you're not alone. The truth is, most of us are unknowingly following habits that keep us stuck in financial stress. But here's the good news. Warren Buffett, one of the richest and wisest investors in the world, has already figured out how to break free from this cycle. And today, we're going to uncover one of the biggest reasons why people stay broke: zero balance thinking. The American nightmare. Why hard work isn't enough. We've all heard the classic advice: work hard, get an education, save money, and life will reward you. But if that were true, why do so many people who follow these rules still struggle financially? It's a harsh reality, but millions of Americans, despite putting in long hours and doing their best, are just one unexpected expense away from disaster. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone you know, maybe a friend or even a family member, who earns a decent salary but still lives paycheck to paycheck? They always seem to be stressed about money, constantly juggling bills, and never having enough left over to truly enjoy life. It's not because they don't work hard. It's because they're unknowingly stuck in a financial trap that keeps them from ever getting ahead. The silent wealth killer, zero balance thinking. One of the biggest mistakes that keeps people poor is something called zero balance thinking. It's the belief that if you have money in your account, you can spend it. Sounds logical, right? But that's exactly where the problem starts. Let's say you have $500 in your bank account. Most people immediately think, great, I can spend $500. They pay some bills, buy a few things they've been wanting, maybe go out for a nice dinner, and before they know it, their balance is back to zero. Then, they wait for their next paycheck and repeat the cycle all over again. This is why so many people, regardless of how much they earn, never feel financially secure. It's not about the income. It's about how you manage what you have. There are people who make 6 figures and are still broke, while others with modest incomes have built impressive savings. The difference is in their mindset and habits. Warren Buffett's simple but powerful approach. Now, let's look at Warren Buffett. Despite being a billionaire, he still lives in the same house he bought in the 1950s. He doesn't splurge on luxury items, and he's famous for keeping his lifestyle simple. Why? Because he understands that wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and grow. Buffett's golden rule is simple. If you can't afford to pay for it in full, you can't afford it at all. This is the exact opposite of how most people think. The average person sees money in their account as an invitation to spend, while Buffett sees it as an opportunity to invest. And that's what separates the wealthy from the struggling. The Rule of 5, a game changer for your finances. If you want to break free from the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle, there's a simple rule to follow, the Rule of 5. It's one of the easiest ways to check if you're making a smart financial decision. Here's how it works. If you can't afford to buy 5 of the same item in cash, you can't afford it. Let's say you want to buy a $200 pair of sneakers. Before swiping your card, ask yourself, can I buy 5 pairs of these right now without putting myself in financial trouble? If the answer is no, you need to rethink your purchase. This little trick forces you to be more mindful of your spending and helps you focus on what truly matters. I remember a friend of mine who received a $500 bonus at work. Instead of saving or investing it, he immediately spent it on a designer jacket he had been eyeing. A month later, he was back to struggling with his bills, realizing that the temporary excitement of his purchase wasn't worth the financial stress. He could have used that money to build his security, but instead, he fell into the zero balance trap. The simple mindset shift that changes everything. The key to financial success isn't about making radical lifestyle changes overnight. It's about shifting how you think about money. Instead of asking, "How much do I have to spend?" start asking, "How much can I save and invest?" Warren Buffett doesn't chase wealth by making risky moves or living extravagantly. He plays the long game. He invests. He lets his money grow. And because of that, he has built a fortune that keeps expanding without him having to constantly work for it. Imagine how different your life would be if, instead of spending every dollar you earn, you put some of it into savings and investments that worked for you. You wouldn't have to stress over unexpected expenses. You wouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck. You'd be in control. Start today, not tomorrow. Here's the best part. You don't need to be rich to start making smart financial moves. You just need to start thinking differently. So here's a challenge for you. Before you make your next purchase, try the rule of 5. See if it changes the way you think about spending. Start small, even if it's just setting aside $10 a week. What matters is that you start. This is just the beginning. There are 4 more financial traps that Warren Buffett warns against. Mistakes that quietly drain your wealth and keep you stuck in financial stress. But once you recognize and eliminate them, your entire financial future can change. In the next section, we'll talk about one of the most dangerous traps of all, the hidden payment tricks that make you believe you can afford more than you actually can. Trust me, once you see how these traps work, you'll never look at monthly payments the same way again. Stay with me, because this next part is a real eye-opener. In the last section, we talked about one of the biggest financial mistakes that keeps people broke: zero-balance thinking. The habit of spending everything you have instead of saving and investing. Now that you're starting to see money differently, it's time to uncover another trap. One that's even more deceptive, because it makes you feel like you're doing fine while secretly keeping you in financial chains. Let me ask you this. Have you ever looked at someone driving a luxury car, wearing designer clothes, or living in a big house and wondered, how can they afford that, and I can't? It's easy to assume that they must be making a lot more money than you. But here's the truth. A lot of those people aren't rich. They just look rich. What if I told you that many of them are just one missed paycheck away from financial disaster? They're not wealthy. They're just trapped in a cycle of payment plans and debt. And the worst part, it's all by design. The illusion of wealth. Why people who look rich often aren't. Warren Buffett has a famous saying, "Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked." In other words, when a financial crisis hits, that's when you see who really has money and who was just pretending to be wealthy. We live in a world where companies have made it easier than ever to buy things without actually being able to afford them. Monthly payments, financing options, zero interest deals, They all make it feel like you can own expensive things even when you don't have the money. Let's say your friend just bought a brand new Mercedes. It's sleek, it's luxurious, and it turns heads wherever they go. You start thinking, wow, they must be doing really well. But what you don't see is the $700 car payment they have to make every month, the rising insurance costs, the maintenance fees, and the stress of keeping up with all these expenses. Most people don't buy expensive things outright. They finance them. And when you add up all these payments, cars, furniture, electronics, vacations, you start to see why so many people live paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much they earn. The problem isn't just the things they buy. It's the payment mindset that traps them in a cycle of spending more than they can afford. The dangerous trap of monthly payments. Companies have figured out that people don't ask themselves, "Can I afford this item?" Instead, they ask, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" And that's where the real trap lies. Take a look around. Everything from cars to phones, to even small things like furniture and clothing, can now be financed. It sounds convenient, but in reality, these payments trick your brain into spending more money than you should. Let's break it down. Say you see a brand new couch that costs $2,000. That's a lot of money to pay up front, right? But the store offers a financing plan. Just $75 a month, interest-free for 24 months. Suddenly, that expensive couch doesn't seem like such a big deal. You think, I can handle $75 a month. That's not much, so you buy it. Then, a few weeks later, you see an ad for the latest smartphone. Instead of paying $1,200 up front, you can just add $40 a month to your phone bill. That seems affordable too, so you upgrade. A few months later, you decide to buy a new laptop. Again, rather than paying the full $1,500, you go with the $60 a month financing plan. Before you know it, your bank account is choking on monthly payments. $700 for your car, $75 for your couch, $40 for your phone, $60 for your laptop. Add in your rent, groceries, and other bills, and suddenly you're out of money again. Now, imagine an emergency happens. Your car breaks down, you lose your job, or you face an unexpected medical bill. What do? You're trapped because all of your money is tied up in payments for things you don't even own outright. How to break free from the payment trap. So how do you escape this cycle and take control of your finances? The answer is simple. Stop financing things you don't need and start paying for things in full. Here's a challenge. Before buying anything new, ask yourself one question. Would I still buy this if I had to pay the full amount up front? Most people wouldn't. That's the whole reason companies push monthly payments. They know that if people had to pay full price, they'd hesitate. The key is to shift your mindset. Instead of focusing on whether you can afford the monthly payment, start focusing on whether you can afford the full price. This is why Warren Buffett never wastes money on expensive cars or flashy purchases. He doesn't think about how much something costs per month. He thinks about how much wealth he can build by not spending that money in the first place. The power of delayed gratification. A lot of people think they need the latest gadgets, the nicest car, or the biggest house right now. But here's something to think about. What if you waited? What if, instead of financing a $40,000 car today, You drove a used, reliable car and invested the difference. What if, instead of spending thousands on expensive furniture and gadgets, you saved and bought things with cash? Over time, those choices add up, and the longer you delay unnecessary spending, the wealthier you become. Here's a fun fact. Warren Buffett drove a regular old car for decades, even when he was already a billionaire. Why? Because he knew that the money he didn't spend on a luxury car could be invested and turned into millions. Think about that. If a billionaire doesn't need a fancy car, why should you feel pressured to get one? Take control of your financial future. So here's what I want you to do. Take a look at your bank account and list out every single monthly payment you're making. Which ones could you eliminate? What payments could you avoid in the future? Start by making a plan to pay off any unnecessary debts and avoid signing up for new ones. Even if it takes time, every step you take toward financial freedom brings you closer to a life where you're in control, not your bills. Now that you understand how payment traps keep you broke, it's time to look at something even more exciting: how to make your money work for you instead of you working for money. In the next section, we'll dive into the magic of compounding, the secret strategy that turns small savings into huge wealth over time. And trust me, once you understand how this works, you'll never look at money the same way again. Keep watching. You don't want to miss this. In the last section, we exposed one of the biggest financial traps: monthly payments. It's one of the sneakiest ways that the companies keep you spending more than you should, tricking you into thinking you can afford things when, in reality, you're just drowning in payments. Now that you know how to avoid that trap, let's talk about something even more exciting: how to flip the script and make your money work for you, instead of you working for money. This is where the real magic of wealth building happens. It's called compounding, and it's the reason why Warren Buffett became one of the richest people in the world. The best part? You don't need to be a millionaire to start using it. You can begin today, no matter how much or how little you have. The magic of compounding. Why? It's the closest thing to financial superpowers. Let's start with a question. If I offered you a choice, would you rather have $1 million today, or a penny that doubles in value every day for a month? Most people would jump at the $1 million because, well, a penny sounds like nothing. But here's what happens when you let money grow and compound. After 10 days, that penny is worth only $5.12. Still seems like nothing, right? After 20 days, it's $5,242.88. Not bad, but after 30 days, that tiny penny has grown to $5.3 million. That's the power of compounding. Small amounts, given time and consistency, can turn into huge wealth. Warren Buffett often says, "The most powerful force in the universe is compound interest." And it's true. The sooner you start using it, the richer you'll become. Why the wealthy get richer, while others stay stuck. Here's the biggest difference between rich people and broke people. Broke people work for money. They trade time for dollars, earning a paycheck and spending it all until they have to do it again next month. Rich people make money work for them. They take a portion of what they earn and put it into assets that grow over time: stocks, real estate, businesses. Over time, these assets start generating more money without them having to work for it. It's like planting a tree. At first, it's just a small seed, but if you take care of it, that tree grows bigger and stronger, and eventually, it produces fruit, money that keeps coming in even if you stop working. The key to wealth: understanding assets versus liabilities. One of the most important lessons Buffett teaches is this: if you want to be rich, buy assets, not liabilities. So what's the difference? Assets are things that put money in your pocket. They generate income, increase in value, or both. Examples include stocks that pay dividends, rental properties that bring in rent money, a business that makes money even when you're not working. Liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket. They may look nice, but they don't make you richer. These include a fancy car that loses value the second you drive it off the lot, the latest smartphone that costs $1,200 but doesn't earn you a dime, a designer handbag that only empties your bank account. Most people stay broke because they spend all their money on liabilities, thinking they're getting richer. They buy expensive clothes, flashy cars, and luxury items, all while never investing in assets that will actually make them wealthy. A real-life example: the two different paths to wealth. I once knew two people who made the same salary, but their financial lives turned out completely different. One of them, we'll call him Jake, bought a brand new car as soon as he got a raise. He also upgraded to a bigger apartment, started wearing designer clothes, and went on expensive vacations. He looked successful. But here's the thing: he financed everything. He had a car payment, credit card debt, and barely any savings. He was stuck in the payment trap. The other guy, let's call him Daniel, did something different. Instead of upgrading his lifestyle, he bought assets. He started small, investing just $50 a month in dividend-paying stocks. Then he bought a small rental property. Within a few years, the rent from his tenants was paying his mortgage, and his stocks had grown significantly. Fast forward 10 years. Jake is still living paycheck to paycheck, while Daniel has multiple income streams. He doesn't have to stress about money because his money is working for him. The 5-to-1 rule: how to start investing, even if you're broke. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but I don't have extra money to invest. That's a common thought, but here's the thing: you don't need a lot to start. Warren Buffett teaches a simple trick to balance spending and investing: the 5-to-1 rule. For every $5 you spend on liabilities, put $1 into assets. If you buy a $50 pair of shoes, put $10 into investments. If you spend $100 on a night out, put $20 into assets. It doesn't have to be huge. What matters is that you're building the habit of investing. Imagine doing this for the next 10 years. Even if you start small, those little investments will grow, and at some point, your money will start making more money than you ever could by working alone. Your money's future starts today. So here's the big question: are you going to keep working for money, or are you going to make money work for you? Right now, you have a choice. You can keep spending everything you make, buying liabilities that make you look rich but keep you broke. Start investing in assets, even in small amounts, and let compounding grow your wealth over time. The decision is yours. But one thing is certain: the sooner you start, the wealthier you'll become. And that brings us to the next powerful financial trap you must avoid: the flashy lifestyle. You've seen it all over social media. People flexing luxury items, posting exotic vacations, making it seem like they have endless wealth. But what if I told you that most of them are living a financial lie? In the next section, we'll expose the truth about the flashy lifestyle and why chasing status is the biggest mistake keeping you poor. You don't want to miss this, because once you understand how it works, you'll never fall into that trap again. Stay with me, because this next part is about to open your eyes. In the last section, we talked about the magic of compounding and how wealthy people let their money work for them instead of constantly working for money. Now, let's dive into one of the biggest financial mistakes people make, the one that keeps them stuck in the cycle of spending and never allows them to truly build wealth. Let me ask you something. Have you ever scrolled through social media and seen people posting pictures of their luxury cars, designer outfits, or dream vacations and thought, wow, they must be doing really well? It's easy to feel like you're falling behind when it seems like everyone else is living their best life. But here's the truth that nobody talks about. Most of those people aren't rich. They just know how to look rich. And that's exactly where the problem starts. The dangerous game of keeping up with appearances. It's human nature to want to fit in. Nobody wants to feel like they're struggling while their friends are out enjoying expensive dinners, upgrading to the latest gadgets, or driving brand new luxury cars. And so, many people start spending money they don't have just to keep up. It starts small, a new designer bag, an upgraded phone, a nicer car. But before you know it, you're caught in a lifestyle that's draining your bank account instead of building your wealth. Warren Buffett doesn't fall for this trap. He still lives in the same modest home he bought in the 1950s. He doesn't wear flashy clothes. He doesn't try to impress anyone with luxury brands. And yet, he's one of the richest people in the world. Why? Because he understands something that most people don't. Real wealth isn't about how much you spend. It's about how much you keep and grow. The truth about social media. Wealth. Social media has made the flashy lifestyle even more dangerous. It used to be that people only compared themselves to their neighbors or coworkers. Now, we compare ourselves to millions of strangers online, people who carefully curate the most glamorous moments of their lives to create an illusion of wealth. But what you don't see behind those luxury vacations and designer outfits are the credit card bills, the car loans, and the financial stress that come with trying to maintain that image. There's a shocking number of influencers and celebrities who are secretly deep in debt because they spent everything on appearances instead of real financial security. They make money, but they also spend it as fast as they get it. And when the money runs out, they're left with nothing. Here's something to remember. Rich people don't try to look rich. They focus on getting richer. If you ever feel pressured to spend money just to fit in, ask yourself, who are you really trying to impress? The people who truly care about you don't need you to have an expensive car or designer clothes. And the people who judge you based on material things, they're probably just as broke as they look rich. How the flashy lifestyle keeps you trapped. Let's break it down. When you spend money on expensive cars, luxury brands, and lavish experiences, you're not just spending. You're locking yourself into financial commitments that prevent you from getting ahead. You buy a luxury car. Now you have a $700 monthly payment. You upgrade your house. Now you have a bigger mortgage. You finance expensive vacations. Now you're paying off debt for a trip that's already over. And what happens next? Since your lifestyle costs so much, you have to keep working just to maintain it. You don't have the freedom to take risks, invest, or build real wealth, because all your money is going toward keeping up the illusion of being rich. Warren Buffett calls this the slavery of luxury. Once you start living an expensive lifestyle, it's almost impossible to go back. You become dependent on your job, your paycheck, and your monthly income just to keep things going. And that's exactly how people stay broke, even when they're making a lot of money. The power of living below your means. So, what's the solution? It's simple. Live below your means and invest the difference. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy your life. It just means being smart about where your money goes. Instead of buying a brand new car, drive a reliable used one and invest the extra money. Instead of upgrading to a bigger house, stay where you are and build an investment portfolio. Instead of spending thousands on designer clothes, buy quality essentials and use that money to grow your wealth. The key isn't to deprive yourself. It's to stop wasting money on things that don't make you richer. The hidden benefit of not looking rich. Here's something most people never think about. When you stop chasing a flashy lifestyle, life actually gets easier. You don't have to worry about keeping up with trends. You don't stress about making your next payment. You can take more risks because your money isn't tied up in liabilities. And most importantly, you gain financial freedom. That's why Buffett lives the way he does. He doesn't have to impress anyone. He doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. And that's the real goal, not looking rich, but being free. The final step, thinking, one step ahead. So now, you've learned how to avoid zero-balance thinking, the payment trap, and the flashy lifestyle trap. 3 of the biggest mistakes that keep people broke. But there's one more thing that separates people who struggle financially from those who build real wealth. It's not about how much money you have today. It's about how you plan for tomorrow. Most people react to life as it happens. They spend when they feel like it. They work paycheck to paycheck, and they hope for the best. But successful people don't do that. They think ahead. They build emergency funds, invest in opportunities before they need them, and position themselves for financial success. In the next section, we're going to talk about the final piece of the puzzle, how to always stay one step ahead financially. If you want to stop struggling and start winning with money, you don't want to miss this, because at the end of the day, predicting rain doesn't count. Building an ark does. And if you're serious about creating real financial freedom, it's time to start thinking like Warren Buffett. Keep watching. This last part is the key to everything.